Hello and welcome back to the Popcorn for Dinner podcast. And welcome to the horniest hotel in all of Sicily. Today, we're going to be discussing episode 6 of the White Lotus season 2. And joining me to get into all
Mm-hmm.
of it, all the drama, all the sex, just as soon as she stops drooling over muscled Timothy Chalamet, it's Hajer.
Yes.
That line was for you, right? When they were like,
Thank
Immature was
you.
Chalamet. That was
Yo,
just for you.
do you know I gasped? I audibly gasped. I was just like, it's Mike White is making this show for me. He's making it for all the bisexual people. That's who he made this show for. Yeah.
That was
You
in his
know?
writing room. That was one that was on his board. Like, I'm writing season 2 is just for the
I mean,
bisexual.
as a bisexual man himself,
Is he?
I know he knows.
Oh, I
He
didn't know.
knows. Yeah,
I
he
thought he was
is.
gay. I didn't know he was bisexual. Oh, okay. Okay. So
He is
maybe
an
you're
openly
right.
bi
He
man.
is writing it for all the bisexuals. I guess that's interesting. Okay. Before we go into all of that, first I just want to quickly apologize, guys. My Wi-Fi is acting up. So if you're watching the YouTube video, the video might be spotty. I do apologize, but to be fair, you aren't missing much. So you're lucky. But if you really want to, you can also go back to audio platforms, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. They're there to listen to this. That way you don't have to watch my face. Um Speaking of Spotify, we got our Spotify wrapped last week. So I want to thank everyone that listened to us this year, everyone that shared with their friends. I want to thank all our guests, Haja, of course, and everyone else that's been on the podcast this year. Thank you so much. We really, really do appreciate everything that you guys do. You guys listen, you guys share with your friends, you guys contact us on Twitter and Instagram. Just that really, really means so much. So thank you very much. Um, we're not receiving screeners for the final episode. As you can tell by the time of this episode, we received screeners a bit late for this one, but we're not receiving screeners for the final episode at all. So that episode will come out later than normal. So please bear with us. And when it's not out on Monday or Tuesday, just bear with us. Okay, so the White Lotus 206, episode 6. It's titled Abductions, written and directed by Mike White.
Hmm.
Haja, let's just start with this. What are your
Hmm.
general thoughts of the episode? Liked it, didn't like it, hated it? What just general thoughts?
I I thought it was brilliant. I don't know why you'd ask me if I hate it. Thought it was brilliant. F. Murray Abraham really stood out to me this episode.
Okay.
He was hilarious, but he gave like a really him and Valentina
Mm-hmm.
stood out to me the most this
Yeah.
episode
I thought you
actually.
were gonna.
Obviously like there's them obviously like Ethan too, but like in terms of performances, F. Murray Abraham and the actress who plays Valentina really stood out to me. I really enjoyed it. I felt like this is the episode that more than any takes you back to the very first scene, that opening scene, and really reminds you murders plural are about to
Yeah.
happen. So those are my general thoughts.
Okay. Yeah, I liked it as well. I feel vindicated because I was liking the season from episode 1, but people were not too sure. So I think people are coming on board now. You are actually, because you're a bit cold on the first
Yeah,
two.
I was one of them.
So
I was like against it.
I feel a bit
I
vindicated.
was like, what is this?
Okay,
You are
I'm gonna give you the option, or rather an option. Where do you want to start? So the options are Ethan's existential crisis, or Bert's existential crisis, or Valentina's existential crisis, or Jack's existential crisis. Which of those do you want to start with?
I think we start with
Okay,
Ethan
so
and
Ethan's
the two couples, because I feel like that's a lot of meat to get to
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
else. There's a
We can
lot
start
of
with that
stuff
existential
there.
crisis, since that just seems to be the thing that's going around this episode. I'll just start with outright with the question before we start talking about the things that happen. So is again options is Aubrey Plaza's character Harper, is she intentionally fucking with Ethan, or did she sleep with Cameron,
Yes.
or it's all in Ethan's head?
She's fucking with him. She wouldn't sleep with
So she
Cameron.
knows what she's doing.
She's disgusted by him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the very interesting thing with that dynamic that I really like clung to
Mm-hmm.
is like this is the very first time you see them having an honest conversation about their relationship, because throughout the whole like lead up to this episode you keep wondering why aren't they having sex, you know, like she's a sexy lady, he's an attractive guy, they're young, it's not like they have kids even like the other couple, like why aren't they having sex, why aren't they attracted to each other? And it's this is the first time that they've really like let all of the airs go and
Mm-hmm.
they've really confronted themselves with what is their relationship. And for someone to say, you know, something has died, like that's a really big thing to say. And it's a very hard truth to confront. And in terms of Harper and Ethan, I think what is going on there is that Cameron has found a crack in a very fragile vase. So she's Cameron, for all his annoying, douchey qualities, he's still very magnetic and charismatic and good looking. And this babes is not having sex, right? She's not having sex. She's been caught up in this weird foursome, this energy. She's found out that this guy's been dishonest to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he's just there at the right time, if that makes sense. Definitely hasn't slept with him, but I feel like he's come his type of person and character is coming at a time that's like really appropriate for the break in that relationship. And I feel that's um like that's what Harper is playing with. And like there's a specific line that stuck with me. He's like, the door should be locked, and she's like, then lock it. And it sounds like a really mundane line,
Mm-hmm.
but I honestly feel like it represents what's been going on with them those past few days. Being like, this shouldn't be a problem that's happening. He's acknowledging it now. And she's sort of putting the ball in his court and saying, you are the only one that can fix this now. Because she does say to him, you are not attracted to me. And I feel like she's definitely playing games with Ethan. She's sort of gotten wise to the fact that she sort of needs to unnerve him, or she's been influenced by Daphne to say like, okay, she sort of needs to unnerve him in order for the relationship to go somewhere. And like, I don't know, like I just feel like Mike White is saying something very very interesting about relationships, because Daphne and Cameron, we see them alone, right? They have no reason to fake it or
Mm-hmm.
perform, and
Mm-hmm.
they have a genuine friendship. There's something there, like they play with each other, they laugh with each other. And with Harper and Ethan, they have no giddy or nice moments. It's constantly so serious, so full of tension. And I feel like you have this juxtaposition of people who are making it work. They have this arrangement or agreement, and you have these people who literally do not communicate with each other. And where does that leave their relationship? It's dying. So I'm really intrigued as to where this is going, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there is the possibility that um Cameron and Daphne, even when they're alone, I mean, I think it's more than a possibility, but they're still acting, but they're acting for one another. Like they're still acting like they're
Mm,
okay with the things that are going on. Like Cameron is probably still acting like, or maybe he's not even
mm,
acting. He believes that Daphne doesn't know anything, and Daphne is acting like either she's
mhm.
okay or she thinks that sleeping with her trainer is a good enough solace
Mhm.
or what do you call it, middle
Mhm.
ground. So
Remedy.
yeah, so I guess,
Yeah.
and it's like, what does she says? What did you do this time? And then he's like, nothing, or just partying hard.
Yeah.
And it's almost like
Mhm.
they never really ask or they never really go in on the real question. They just she kind of broaches it and they kind of brush it
Mhm.
aside. This was the first episode where I even thought,
Mhm.
where I considered that maybe Daphne actually slept with somebody in Nodo. Nodo is pretty, yeah. I don't think she did because I think
Yeah.
Harper would have known. But that was the first time I was like, oh wait, did she? Could she have?
Mhm.
Like, considering now that we know that she has a child for another man. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
She has the ultimate trump card with that though, right? So I think she sees, like I think for her she sees all he's doing as just a very large game,
Mm-hmm.
because she has the ultimate trump card, because I don't think he knows that that
Oh
child
no,
isn't his.
no.
And I think that would like ultimately shift things. And so for her, it's just like you're playing around with prostitutes and you're raising a kid that isn't yours, lol. Like I
Yeah,
think that
I think
that's
Ethan is very much.
for her. That's why
No,
she's
not Ethan.
so playful.
Yeah, I think Cameron is very much like Bert in a way where he believes that
Hmm.
Daphne, his wife, doesn't know anything. And I think if Cameron is the type of person that if he thought that Daphne knew Like it just not only would it like lose the thrill for him, I don't think he would want to. Like he would feel almost, I don't know what the word is, but like he would,
I think he knows she knows that he's a shithead though.
but not
Like
cheating.
she knows that he does. No, I think he knows that she, or he knows that she heavily suspects, but he believes that she won't bust her bubble, and she won't. You know what I mean? It's like we both sort of, I think they're both just dancing around it, to be
Yeah,
fair.
I mean, I yeah, that's interesting because I think
Mm.
that he thinks that he's getting one over her, the same way Bert thought that like his wife never knew anything, and it's like even when
Mm.
his son is like she knew, it's like no, no, she didn't. Like why did she stay if she knew? So um,
Mm.
yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, but is Harper going too far? Is this a bit too? Oh no, sorry. Before we go to that, you said Ethan has the power to.
Ethan is the fucking worst. There's nothing too far. I hate him. He's the fucking worst. I fucking hate
It can
Ethan.
be the
He's the
worst
worst type of guy.
when Cameron is right
No,
there.
I'd honestly a Cameron over an Ethan. I literally hate Ethan so much. He's such a weasel. First of all, he only cares now because
Yeah,
he can assert dominance with his rival. That's literally the only reason he cares. When his wife was neglected the whole time, when he lied to her consistently. And you know what I made me laugh? Like her character is a lawyer, right? I could
yeah.
tell because she kept giving him the chance to confess and he kept lying. And now he's like, but I've never lied to you. You know what? He can suck it. In fact, I hope she actually fucks Cameron. I know she doesn't, but I hope she does because Ethan, he deserves everything he's getting. He neglected his wife. He refused to communicate with her. You reap what you fucking sow, motherfucker. And this is just your penance, you know? I'm sorry. Be a better
This
husband.
is
Fuck you.
okay. I'm not gonna. There is no way I'm gonna wade into the trap of trying to defend Ethan. That's not even happening on this podcast. So like,
No, no, no. Try
so
and defend him. I would
no,
not. I wouldn't disagree with you. I
no,
actually,
I
I'm
don't even.
intrigued. I'm
No,
intrigued. What
I
is?
don't have any defense for him. It's not, I'm not gonna be like you know how for podcasts
I
for
feel for
content.
him, but I don't.
I I mean, do I think that if she's doing intentionally that this might be too much? Maybe you can clearly see he's losing his shit. I don't like. He's obviously
Yeah.
done like he should have told her originally because again
Mm-hmm.
did he cheat? Probably not. But like if he told her from the beginning, she probably would have been a bit better with it. But he obviously didn't, and he held it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just trying to say if this is her plan, it is. It's probably fair in like in the life that they live, but like it is it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. But I'm not defending him because he's a piece
Um,
of shit. Nobody's
I
arguing
think
with that.
the I think the paranoia is built so well. Like it literally you can, and the performance is also really great. Like it literally looks like he's being undone from the inside out. Like
It's ridiculous.
he looks like he's
It's
about to
he's
crash.
dying. He's like from the first
He's
like I knew
dying.
it was an Ethan
He's
episode because obviously the episode
dying.
starts with him in the chair. I was just like, oh my god, this guy is
Mm-hmm.
unraveling. And obviously we know that there's history of Cameron
Mm-hmm.
sleeping with girls that he's interested in. So and obviously Cameron has
Yeah.
reflected. And obviously it's very fortunate that now he remembers that Cameron exposed himself to Harper and all that. But like it's like that scene is so well directed. That scene where he's obviously you see the
Mm-hmm.
what's in his head where he imagines them having sex and what could have
Mm-hmm.
happened on the other side of the door.
Yeah.
It's just like yeah, this is a man that is unraveling. Like everything is just falling apart.
He's teetering on the edge. I feel like
And,
this episode really was blinking like this is like someone is going to die. Like
mm,
I felt like this episode definitely gave me new ideas for victims and perpetrators. But yeah,
yeah, we'll get
I
to that.
definitely really
But
enjoyed
throughout
this
this episode, I
one.
just kept on thinking, oh, this is Ethan. Ethan is gone. But also like this show. I mean, we'll get to theories in a bit. But like my quite kind of juxtaposed Ethan a lot with the Testa de Moro statues. Like it was always the statue
Yeah.
and then Ethan or the Ethan and the statue. I was like, okay, what are you trying to tell us? Um, yeah, and then Daphne
Yeah,
is
because
like,
that one was about a woman killing her husband for infidelity, right?
no,
But
no, a
it
woman
could
killing a
be the
man
other
that
way around.
seduced her. Well, a woman killed a man that seduced her when she found out that the man had a family on the mainland.
Yeah,
So it's
sorry.
still the same thing. Yeah, no, it's still
Yeah.
the same thing. Yeah. So
Hmm.
I always thought, up to now, I thought that statue was meant for Daphne and
Hmm.
Cameron. Like Daphne, like it was hinting about Daphne killing Cameron, but now it could be
Yeah.
about Ethan. Speaking of Daphne, she's not in this episode at all. She's just there meant to complain about Timothy Chalamet misuse. Yeah, I was telling someone, I feel almost proud about the reception that Megan Fahey is receiving, even though I don't know her from anywhere. I'm
I
just like
love her, you
we're,
know.
we're, we're watching her on both time. We loved her on both time,
That's
and then
that
now we're
bold
just like
type family, though. That's
I'm
that
like
bold type
now like
fam. Like,
HBO family knows. I'm like, oh, this I feel so special. I feel like, oh, I feel so. Aisha D is next in the words of Ayo. Ayo said
yeah.
Aisha D has next. Okay, let's quickly go on. Should we just quickly let's let's talk about Lucia.
Should we do butts?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That's what.
Lucia.
Yeah. No, no, it's the same. It's the same thing. The three generations and Lucia. Um, let's
This
start with Bert.
this
Let's start with
bit
Bert.
this episode for F Mary. So first of all, he's fucking hilarious. He's goes, "It's great you're employed." You know, Sicily has such a high
High rate of
unemployment rate.
unemployment.
He's so
No,
funny
so
in this
there's a
episode. He
scene.
is hilarious.
Incredible, incredible. So the scene when Albie brings out Lucia, I'm going to mention a few scenes for you guys to
And
go
he's
back and
like, he's
rewatch.
like, he's
But
like, get yourself
his
together.
face drops. Like he's before that, he's in the background and his face, you can just see his face, almost his mouth almost opens. And then he tells him, get your shit together, something like that. It was like I can't remember, he said something that was very like anachronistic. I can't remember what he
He
said, but it
said
was like
it was so funny. He was like, get yourself together. You're gonna reveal it. Like, he's so funny.
it was
It's
oh
so
it was so
funny.
funny in this. And then obviously the payoff of what they came why they came to Italy and then just the crash
Yeah.
of no one caring, no homecoming in their words. Um,
I
three
found that
Italian
really
women shouting at
beautiful.
three Italian men.
Yeah. I feel like that there's so much to pick from that. And I remember that one of the first things that
Mm-hmm.
stuck out to me was when Michael Imperioli's character Dom asks, who would I have
Mm-hmm.
been if I lived here? And I feel like
Yeah,
that question, who would I have been, is very, very like a central question for this particular family and this particular two generation, particularly between um, Bert and Dom, who would I have been if I'd done X and not done X or
yeah,
made X mistake and not done that. And this idea about people who stay versus people who leave and like searching for something better for yourself, but ultimately sort of
mm-hmm.
not being able to find it. I feel like they did so many interesting but very subtle things in this episode. So one thing that really stuck out to me is sort of the different reactions from all three generations of men when Lucia decides to go into the car with Alessandro, whatever his name is, Alessio, the
Yeah,
pimp, the fake pimp.
Alessio.
So now I'm okay. Bankole, is that a
We'll
real
get.
pimp or not?
We'll
Because at first I
okay.
thought it
Since we're
was
there,
fake, but
he's
now I'm
fake. He's fake.
afraid
He's fake.
that
He's fake. It,
he's fake,
um,
isn't he? Right?
he. We've
But
all thought he was fake from the
she's
beginning, but
really
then
doing a convincing act because
they all deserve Oscars for whatever they're doing. But I saw a hint and I went back to watch the beginning of the
Mhm.
pilot or the premiere rather, and Alessio is there, but like she basically just says like hi Alessio, like they're very friendly with one another, so it doesn't give
Yeah.
the impression that this is my pimp.
Pimp.
So definitely, and also
Yeah.
remember when
It's
she leaves, when they're about to leave, and then the valet calls
mhm.
her. I just thought that was just Mike White
Mhm.
trying to find a reason for Dom and Bert to talk, but then she's like, "That's my friend's brother." So
Brother.
I'm assuming
Yeah.
she was like, "Go tell Alessio this is where we're gonna be. He can come meet us on the street or whatever."
Yeah.
So
That's that's
it's
that's a very clever remark, like noticing that. And I also think
mm,
that links to what sort of Jack eventually tells Portia later about a con to help the people around you. Because I
yeah,
can imagine she's probably gonna try and cut them in on whatever con that she eventually runs on,
yeah.
this boy. But
But
Albie surprises me
okay,
every episode. I feel like I don't know if he's, also waiting or something, but he never ever interferes with her agency. Like he constantly lets her choose. And I was very surprised that he didn't just white knight immediately. Whereas the two older men immediately be like, okay, like what, let's handle this like as a man. Like I can handle him. I'm pretty sure that's what Dom says. And then Bert is like, how can you just let her be abducted? Like
yeah,
they're all very much in like manly protector mode. How can you let this woman go? And he's like, it's what she wants. It's what she wants. And I feel like that's a very like interesting detail that is there very much on purpose. It's like I feel like everyone has been afraid for Albie to crack, but I personally think Albie is exactly the man he's trying to be. But I
hmm
don't know that he might remain that way if she does try to scam him. I
yeah,
do think that this whole thing is sort of putting us in a position where we ask the people that try to be good, where do they go when you've like pushed them to the very end?
No, no, I mean, you say
Because
you
I
say he.
feel like,
No, I was saying you say he surprises you, but like, I
mm-hmm,
we went on a rant 2 or 3 weeks ago about how Albie's probably a terrible person, and this is his villain origin story, and he hasn't proved correct so far. So
yeah,
we're the ones that like, what were we thinking? Um,
yeah.
yeah, no, what you said you feel like
I feel
just
like
now.
what?
No, you okay? Never mind.
Just forget it. It's thoughts left. Yeah,
Those are the
thoughts left.
bloopers for the YouTube audience. No, in regards to the three generations reactions, I found it very
Mm-hmm,
interesting because yes, they all react differently, and then Albie's like we can escalate or whatever, but they are all, for better or worse, like very protective of her, even if it's like in the
mm-hmm,
traditional manly way. And I found that interesting because
yeah,
that does mean that if her con involves I'll be providing money for her or even taking
mm-hmm,
her to America, whatever her plan is, like none of the three men will be opposed to it because they all at
yeah,
this point feel for her safety. Like it's not a thing like,
yes,
yeah, like
yeah. No,
Dom won't be like,
I
you
agree.
can't, she's a sex worker, you can't tell. He's seen
Yeah,
her in danger so far, so he'll be like, no, she has to come with us or whatever. So I find that very interesting that they were all like when Bert comes on, like you can't go with him. That was so funny.
yeah.
The way his
that
line
was
reading
that was
was so
hilarious. That was so hilarious. You can't go with him. I was like, this is so melodramatic and hilarious. But I'm so happy you brought that up, and I think it this idea of like, despite who she is, their initial discomfort with her,
hmm
them being, upset by her presence, maybe ashamed or embarrassed by her line of work. The moment it's a woman in danger, all of that ceases to matter, and they like sort of have to make sure she's safe before all these things matter. I think that's really interesting because, like, I think with Albie, you've sort of seen that, okay, maybe he wants to save somebody, and I don't know, like, even with Bert, something that stuck out to me when he says that you think you're gonna be embraced by a
hmm
woman and who tells you you've done all right, but there's nothing for me. And I feel like it's interesting because it's him, a man who's looking to be saved by like some sort of female figure,
hmm
and he has no wife anymore. He's sort of, I think, maybe even though he doesn't express it in that scene with Dawn, he's probably lingering on the fact that, oh my God, maybe my wife did know this stuff
Yeah,
about me and maybe she was sad about it. And I think he's sort
yeah.
of looking for, I don't know if it's comfort or acceptance or forgiveness. But throughout this whole episode, I felt like that there was a very like it was like an animal or animalistic theme going on, like people going back to like your primitive desire. I felt that with like Harper and Cameron and Ethan, and I felt it with obviously like Tanya and all of that. And I feel
hmm
like that desire for Bert is sort of that childlike one of like, okay, like I just want to be held like by my mom or something,
Yeah.
or like
No,
I just want to feel safe.
100%. I have the full quote here. It's you always think there's going to be a homecoming, the embrace of a woman that tells you you've done all right. There's no homecoming, not for me, not anymore. And
Yeah,
something that struck me when he said that quote was how his face lit up when he realized that those two women, their mother was in there.
yeah,
Like he's like, your mom is in. Like, can we go say hi to
yeah,
your mom? Who he thinks is like the
yeah,
probably the maternal person in his family,
yeah.
right? That is left. And yeah, I think he wants. I think it's all the things you said. It's like
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness and acknowledgement that you've done okay. And he probably thinks he's like he's like, oh shit, I fucked up my son and probably my grandson as well.
Yeah.
But usually at the end of the day, after I do all the fuck shit I do when I go out with women, I come back home and my wife is there. And it's like what I think was it
Mm-hmm.
it might have been Albie or Portia that said it during the Godfather scene. It was like men want to go out and sleep with all these women and come back home to a home cooked meal with their wives. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you want that embrace from your wife after you've done all the bullshit that you've done. But now he doesn't get that. He doesn't even get that from these women that have never met him before. And then what does he do? He goes to drink and
Yeah.
then he finds solace in Mia Mia singing, like
Yeah,
a
and her
woman
beautiful. She
singer,
has a
Italian
beautiful
woman
voice,
singing.
though. Wow.
She has a very good
Yeah,
voice. Especially
and
especially
something
as
we
opposed to the former the former singer.
the former singer. No, but I think it's also great. What the woman says. The oldest woman, she says, "And what do we need men for?" Where she
What do we need men
says,
for?
"When,
Yeah.
yeah, when
But
they
then
ask
important, she
her,
also
you
says,
know,
"I'll throw this artichoke at your head." So that's just like you say, just
the-
incredible lines all around. Just incredible lines.
yeah, no, that was so hilarious. But I don't know. It was. I think because this season has touched on like male masculinity and like what that
Mm-hmm.
means. I don't think I have a definitive answer or inference of what this means. If I had to guess, I would say that it's sort of about the way that maybe we're all just interdependent on each other as men and women, and even
Mm-hmm.
someone like Bert can't escape his sins. He needs to find that somewhere, and also just like you have this very macho man. You have the whole season talking about their ideals and what matters to them and what makes them men and all this stuff. And ultimately, they still sort of seek the solace of a woman acknowledging them. And I think that thing of doing all right, it is a woman also acknowledging your manhood. Have you
Yeah.
succeeded in
It's
whatever way
funny. I
that
don't know
that
why.
means to you?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know why. In the last 5 minutes, when talking about this, I just kept on thinking about Don Draper. Have you seen Mad Men?
Yes,
So
yes.
like
How can you ask me
everything he
that?
did.
Bankole, that is
Well, I just
insulting.
I'm sorry. I just have to be sure. I apologize. But like with
Hmm.
everything Don did, he always came back to the women
Hmm.
in his life, be it Sally or Peggy
Yeah.
or what was General Justice's character's name again?
um
His wife.
Betty, and then also the woman
But yeah,
Mrs. Draper. Oh my
yeah,
god,
like he always like no matter what, he always wanted to come back to one of the women in his life and everything.
yeah.
And I think yeah, it just reminded me of Don Draper. Yeah.
That's
Um.
such a brilliant point. I think also one of the best things about Don is that like he's constantly trying to run away from who he
Hmm.
is, but he also cares so much about people that he needs those connections. So he is constantly in between sort of running away from who he is and seeking solace, particularly in these female characters. He just can't help himself but to be there for
Hmm.
people and to, do the right thing, well, most of the time, or some of the time. And I don't know, like I think that's a brilliant comparison, and that does really echo that same sentiment of like where does one go, and that lostness. We see it in
Hmm.
Portia and Tanya as well. Do you want to talk about them?
Let's talk about
Um,
Portia. Or should we? Let's keep them to the end. Let's quickly
let's
talk
give it for
about
last.
Valentina, Isabella, and Mia.
Mm,
Um, so I have Obia was meant to be on this episode, so he sent me his notes because he couldn't make it, and then he just had on his note was like, "Yes, I knew it. Rocco is her boyfriend who just got engaged." I was like, "Why is that so exciting to you? Why is that the thing that makes you so excited?" Just like, "Yes, I knew it." I was like, nobody was fighting you about whether Rocco and Isabella were engaged, but
okay.
I think the actress that plays Valentina, Sabrina, I think she was so good in this episode. Like I want
Yep.
anyone that's listening, just quickly go back and watch the scene when she's drunk at the bar and Mia is kind of
Mhm.
like hitting on her and all that. Like her
Mhm.
face does so much. When Mia is like, um, you know all the empty rooms in this place or whatever, she spends like 30 seconds just looking. Like her eyes are just moving around. Just like you
Mhm.
can see her eyes, like she's almost like she's processing like a computer, like, trying to figure out what do I want to do next. And it's just the acting in that scene
Yeah.
from Sabrina is
Even
so good. I was like, wow.
even when she hears of the engagement, like her lip quivers and like
Oh, that was just
it like
painful.
her eyes, and it's just so sad. And I feel like you have it juxtaposed with when she initially invites Isabella on this thing, and she's so excited, she's so, she's so chuffed, she's like, oh my god, you actually want to come, and she's so happy, and
Hmm.
Isabella's also excited, and then hearing this. And I was hating on her in the last episode, I won't lie, because I thought she's a very horrible boss, very inappropriate, reported to
Oh no,
HR.
but she
But
was.
now
She
I feel
was.
so bad for, I know like she was, but I felt so bad for her. And the
Hmm.
actress does such a good job. And even the whole thing about empty rooms, I think that that's particularly like poignant for her, because you even see her, when she feeds the cat. I think it's like episode 3 or 4. Like she lives a
Hmm.
lonely life. So I think someone telling her,
Oh,
we're all the empty rooms are. It's like, yeah, like you have no life. Like
Hajer,
you
I mean,
have
that's
nothing.
an incredible metaphor and comparison that you just made. But when she says, "I don't have anyone to celebrate with," oh my
Yeah.
heart, I was like, "Oh Jesus Christ!" Like even there was a part of me
Yeah.
that thought, "Is she lying about it being her birthday so she can go out to Isabella?" That was like a part of
Look
me
at
at the
my
beginning
notes. I wrote
when you're
it's
like,
her birthday and I put a sad face.
yeah, it was just like I was like, "Oh, this is so sad." And then obviously, what precedes is
Yeah.
that scene with Mia. Quickly about Mia. What do you think of Mia's dress?
I think it's
So
so
it's the
ugly
white
and
one.
ill-fitted and like badly
Okay,
tailored. I hated it.
I
I thought
don't,
it was
I
like
don't, I don't
rubbish. It looks
get,
like a towel.
I don't get dresses like that. And look, I'm the last
With
person to give
feathers.
like, I've never understood it. I'm like, just wear the dress, just wear the dress normally if that's what you're wearing. Like, look, I'm nobody should come to me for advice, male or female fashion advice. Please don't. But just, I was like, why are you wearing this? Like, it's just, yeah, okay. I'm glad you're on my side because I was just like, this dress makes no sense to me. But yeah, I mean, whatever's gonna happen, it's sad that it's maybe in like 36 hours, maybe 48 hours after she first had sex with a woman, she's about to witness some dead bodies on her in her hotel. So that should be a good few days for Valentina.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go to Tanya and the gays. That's how it's written in my notes. Um,
Whew, that first scene with Portia and Tanya, I
mm-hmm,
think
mm-hmm.
that's a perfect scene. You know when Portia says to her, because I sort of thought as well that Portia doesn't see, like earlier in the season. I thought Portia and Tanya are quite similar, but they don't see it, and I think when she says I
I
see
thought so as
myself in
well.
you, I think it's a great
Mm-hmm.
thing because they both have that narcissism, that unawareness, that lostness. um and
Do you know?
I love that Tanya
Yeah,
doesn't tell her what she's seen immediately, and Portia sort of has to come to terms and realize over the whole course of the episode what's really really going on. And I think that works so much better, especially in terms of character development, because she has to sort of get real for a second and get out of her delusions and be faced with what's exactly in front of her, not what she's trying to tell. But yeah, finish what you were saying before I go into the next one.
no. I because I also during the earlier episodes, like I feel like Tanya and Portia are the same person because apart from everything you
Yeah,
said and all the characteristics they
just not a
have, they also
billionaire
do that thing
version.
where yeah, exactly, they do that thing where they just drift off during a sentence
Hmm.
and like somebody's talking and they just say something completely random. Tanya does that obviously every time, but Portia did that so many times with Albie. Um, no, and I think this was like, look, Mike White's pen was going off this episode. 'Cause obviously, we've mentioned the homecoming thing from
Yes.
Bert. We've mentioned I don't have anyone to celebrate with. But like when look, when Tanya says to
When
Portia,
she's
my
the
mother
doll
is
thing,
dressing up
right?
like a little doll, and I was always a doll waiting for someone to play with me. I was
D-
like,
do you
Jesus
know how many
Christ.
notes I have on that line alone? Literally, I said it reminds me of Rachel from the last season, the woman who was fighting to not be a trophy wife, right? With Shane,
Alex
right?
Dario?
Yeah, Alex
Okay, yeah,
Dario.
yeah.
But then I also feel like it's obviously it plays to the show's like larger gender themes or whatever. But what it really struck
Mm-hmm.
out to me was Portia, and it really highlights that parallel between them. In terms of waiting to
100%,
be
yeah.
played with, because even in the first season, Tanya is so desperate to be chosen and she's so desperate to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
But also, Portia, she's also so lost that she wants to be played with. Initially, she thinks Albie will play with her and make her the right person, and maybe this is the type of guy
Yeah.
she needs. And then now she's being played with by Jack, and she still finds no satisfaction. She eventually talks to Jack about this whole idea of being satisfied. And I think that it's such a brilliant line because it illuminates so much in that scene. And I think that it's so perfect, like, especially in terms of what we're saying about women. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it links to all the female characters. Particularly to me, I feel Daphne sort of like taking charge, and she's now the one playing the game, right? So she's in charge of the game and
Yeah.
she decides what's being
Yeah.
played, and sort of everyone deciding like who they're gonna be, basically. Because the thing about a doll is that you can dress it up any way you want. And I think that's
Hmm.
really highlights how the whole thing is about what type of marriage are you going to have, what type of person are you going to be, what type of man are you going to be, what type of lover are you going to be, what type of rich person are you going to be, what type of life are you going to have. And I think that that's done
Yeah.
so well just with just one line.
And then, do you remember the line that comes immediately after?
Get your shit
So this
together.
was a line that essentially, but this was a line that confused me. And then I think just listen to you speak now, it makes sense because that's what triggers her to ask Jack, "Do you have any goals or whatever she says?"
Yeah.
But no, but Tanya says to Portia, "When you are empty inside and you have no direction,
Yeah.
you end up in some crazy places, right? But you still
Mm-hmm.
be lost." And I guess that's what triggers her to ask Jack whether he has any goals. And Jack is like,
Yeah.
"Look, if it was 100 years ago, people will be killing themselves. Like, look, I'm happy where I am right now."
No, but Portia definitely got the ick majorly this episode. I hope you guys, if you have to carry your crush drunk, oh my days.
Wait, okay, but this is gonna be
Oh
my
my
men's rights
days.
corner. Men do it all the time.
And be a fucking
Oh,
lady.
okay.
Why are you drunk like that
If
in
you're
the streets? Like,
if
be
if
a
you're a
fucking
man
lady.
and you ever carry your if you're a man and you ever carry your female partner because she's drunk, you are allowed to get the ick. That's what Hajar is saying. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules.
No, that's not what I'm
That's what Hajar
saying.
is saying. That's
You
what you're saying. That's what you're
be a
saying.
fucking lady. Like, why are you like his own was so bad as well. Like he was now snoring. Like God have
I mean,
mercy.
it's so
Like
weird because like he's
death to
how much beer
snorers.
did he drink?
Death to
And then
snorers.
he's singing the
To
West Ham
drunk
song. That's
snorers.
rude. No, I'm a snorer. Don't dare to snorers. This is my agenda. My agenda is to get snorers on Love Island. We need representation. We need people to know
I'm
who we are.
fucking dead. Like,
Um,
but that
we
scene
need to-
was so
okay,
dark.
let's talk about which scene.
In the hotel where he's drunk and like that definitely, first of all, like obviously from last episode I was immediately like, this is miles better than season one, but this episode made me feel like, oh wow, the show is taking quite a dark and heavy tone this season. When he says like, he was like in a really deep hole and stuff, so like I'm really intrigued. Is it that he
Default.
feels
Yeah.
indebted to Quentin somehow, or Quentin is blackmailing him?
Oh no, I think definitely feels indebted.
Okay.
And my idea would my thinking, which we'll talk about Quentin in a second, obviously. My thinking would be that Quentin got him as like a resident sex boy, and it's like, oh, I can unleash you on this girl to keep this girl busy.
Yeah.
That'll be my thinking, really. But while we're on Portia, let's talk about Portia quickly. So she's wearing
Mm-hmm.
a Godfather shirt in
Yes.
this episode.
Yes.
And as anyone
Mm.
who listens to this podcast knows, I haven't watched The Godfather,
But
so I'm
I
not here to tell
have.
you what that means.
I
Okay,
think I have an
so what do you
inkling.
think with spoiler without giving any deep
No
spoilers,
deep
deep spoilers,
spoilers.
what do you think? What do you think that means?
Okay,
Yeah.
so you know how in the first episode, so this isn't even a spoiler, like it's like if you've seen the White Lotus, they talk about this scene in the White Lotus. But
Yeah, yeah.
you know how they talk about how the bomb is meant for Al Pacino, but it doesn't hit
Al
him.
Pacino.
It
Yeah.
doesn't hit him. It's
Hmm.
his wife. So I
Yeah.
think
The
it's sort of a
wife. Yeah.
hint of the person who is meant to be the target will not be the target. It'll be some collateral damage, which is why my new theory is that Portia's gonna die. Poor
So
Portia.
instead of Tanya.
Tanya's not gonna die. Portia will.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about. It's taking us like 40 minutes, I guess, but somehow let's talk about the picture. The picture
Oh
that
my
Portia is.
god.
I'm assuming she's so coked out that she doesn't pay attention to. She thinks like it's fake because of the cocaine she's on.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
picture of
yeah, but
Greg
it's a
and
picture
Quentin.
of. Yep, and obviously that's a theory that has been going on for the past week about whether Greg was the cowboy, and that seems like confirmation that that is Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so obviously, I've heard the theories about the plan obviously with Greg and Quentin is to kill Porsche.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Tanya, and then Greg gets the money and obviously he shares it with his friends or whatever. Or, but also I think while we're here, we can just agree that Quentin is the person that Greg is talking to
Yeah,
in episode two.
yeah, for sure.
Okay. And I don't think the love was really love you romantic. I think it was like
Yeah,
I love you,
yeah.
like as someone I've known for 30 plus years. The second theory we could be that the plan is to get evidence of Tanya
cheating.
sleeping with this
Yeah,
Italian
and
guy who I'm sure is also another sex worker,
which will
and
avoid the
then they
prenup
can divorce
properly.
based on
Yeah, it
that.
will avoid the prenup.
Yes,
Most
and then
prenups
he
are
can
will be
exactly. So
avoided
it's,
by a fidelity clause.
yeah, and she would have done that because obviously she doesn't. She was a very self conscious
Yeah,
that Greg wasn't into her, so
yeah,
she should have done a
yeah,
fidelity
yeah.
clause. So those are the two options. I think everybody's agreed that Greg and Quentin that cannot be a coincidence. That's impossible for it to be a coincidence.
Yeah, I thought this
Um.
that like that whole sequence was very like obviously like bacchanalia, like hedonism. It's like slow mo. It feels like a trance, but like it was also funny. Like when she's like, "This Coke is very pure and fresh." It's like it's not toothpaste. Um,
Which
but
is like, let's check your coke bag. Like it was funny. It was funny. Okay, so speaking of murder, there's a literal Chekhov's gun introduced into this episode,
yep, yep,
which which like
yep.
by the law of Chekhov, it has to go off
Yeah,
eventually. So I don't know what else to say, but we'll just have to wait till next episode to see what happens with that.
yeah. And I thought the reason why I feel like Tanya doesn't get won over or like she eventually will
Mm-hmm.
prevail is because we get that focus on the painting of the lady with the knife who's staring. So you have the portrait of the woman, she's sort of nude, she's bent over, she has the knife. But also I thought that
Mm-hmm.
this whole episode was blocked really, really beautifully. There were like two specific shots that really stuck out to me. It was one was that very first one with not the very first one, but one where you have Ethan talking to the prostitutes and you have Aubrey Plaza on the other side of the like glass, and it literally looks like a painting. But then you
Mm-hmm.
switch back to her, and it just like um, reminds you that everything is about perspective. But then you also have the very last shot of the episode where she's on the bed, the guy's on his knees, and it
Mm.
looks like something straight out of a painting or the theme song even because even
Yeah.
in the intro you have all these different sexual positions and like precarious positions that people are in, but it's so interesting because
Yeah.
he's the one on his knees, but in reality in that current moment she's the one who's at his mercy. But
Yeah. He's the one in
I
control.
don't know why. There's
Mm-hmm.
something telling me that Tanya will prevail. Like that shot on the painting with the shot on the painting with the knife and the woman. And just I guess the whole thing we've had about women throughout the season. I'm not saying that no woman will die. I
Mm-hmm.
think maybe the prostitutes die because they're not really protected by society, etc., etc. But I feel like we might have some girl boss triumph. I don't know. Maybe I might be wrong, but I feel like that's definitely a possibility.
Mm, maybe Mia is our girl boss triumph.
Or Lucia,
Okay,
maybe
so
she
before we
succeeds in
leave,
her scam.
maybe Lucia scams all three generations of the men.
Yeah.
Okay, quickly.
Valentina
So
becomes a
the episode
bridesmaid at
title
Isabella's wedding.
Rocco
Rocco.
and Salvatore
Oh my
with
god.
his voice. Okay, so before we leave, quickly, the episode is titled Abductions,
Mm.
right? And I think that very plainly refers to Lucia.
Hmm.
Who else do you think that refers to? So I have options
Portia,
of Portia
definitely.
as
Portia,
well.
definitely.
hmm Lucia, obviously, we agree. Portia, we agree. And Ethan's sanity. I think
Yeah,
those are the three
that's definitely being
abductions.
abducted.
Yes. Harper has it in her handbag. Okay, before we actually leave now, so obviously, like we mentioned, that's all the theories have been proven correct, i.e., Quentin is poor. He has a relationship with Greg. I think it was all obviously Jack is not his nephew. I mean, obviously, well, that's a different HBO show. Um, yeah. So I think there are a couple that left that I think we can just very quickly decide if we think it's true or not. I mean, I think we all agree that Alessio is not real, and that's like Lucia's lie or
Hmm.
con or whatever. So just want to see if that works out. But there's also the theory that Cameron is poor, that Cameron doesn't have money.
I think that might be true.
Um, yeah, it's looking more and more likely because he doesn't want to pay these women.
Yeah.
So it's looking like more and more likely that he actually doesn't have money. Which would be, I mean, unless what? How would he not have money?
I
He's
feel
not
like he would
fat. So
have
how
one
would Cameron
thousand
not
three
have
hundred
money?
dollars though. Like, are you joking? Who doesn't have one
Yeah,
thousand three hundred
not even
dollars?
dollars.
Like,
Yeah,
bro,
it's like it's so weird.
like, come on. Like that's a bit
Unless he's just
ridiculous.
like,
And also like
yeah,
he can't be
like
completely flat broke. Like, do you get what I mean? Like It
Mm-hmm.
can't be like he has to have at least a couple K, like at least. That doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to me.
Okay. I have a question for you. How would you feel if like the dead bodies thing is just like a big fake out, and like the dead bodies are like none of the characters we care about, or it was an accident or something?
I
Would
feel
that matter
like
to you?
that would be. I don't know. I wouldn't like that. I can't lie. Like, you know how, like,
So you
we
want
might
someone
get
to die?
something like, you know how in the first season it was like all an accident, right? So the death was sort of like an
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
accident. I feel like I don't mind if one of the bodies is an accident. So I also have a theory that Albie might also die trying to intervene or save someone.
Oh, okay.
He finally gets to be a white knight, but he dies. So I don't mind if one person dies by accident, or like as we said with the Godfather theory, somebody who's not meant to be killed ends up being killed. But I do want like
Yeah.
one premeditated murder. Like I think that makes things a bit more spicy. And it's
Yeah.
not like
So, but
like it's
you
an
want
anthology
people?
series, right? Like you don't have to care. Like, oh my god, I'm
Yeah. It's
losing
not as
Aubrey
if.
Plaza.
Yeah.
Like she
Yeah.
can die, babes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think the biggest reason for me that I had for Tanya to die was that it would just make it easier to not have to bring her for season three.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
that was
I'll
that
be
was
kind
the
of
biggest like
like
big.
it would be a bit. Oh, okay, they bring Jennifer Coolidge again, but I mean, I don't think Tanya
Yeah.
might.
I don't think they bring her again.
Yeah, I don't know that Tanya will not die, but I don't know. Just something is telling me that she will find a way to prevail, or that she's gonna, or
Mm-hmm.
at least by
Yeah.
tomorrow morning when she wakes up, she's out of the coke haze. She'll sort of be onto them in a
Yeah.
way.
I'm thinking about the
I'm thinking
picture.
about the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, finally, really finally this time. Obviously, every episode takes course over a day.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with them waking up, or in Arby's case, having sex with Lucia, and then it ends with them going to bed. So, but we know that the seeing the dead bodies is in the morning, I believe. So I'm assuming we'll get more than a day next episode, unless it's literally happening the next morning, which I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll get more than a day in the finale, and then we go into the next morning. Anyways, I don't know. I think that's it. Do you have any other thoughts?
No. Thank you for having me.
I saw some of your fans saying that they will listen to the podcast because you're on it. So
Who said that?
hi, thank you for listening. Please,
I don't think
I
anyone
can't
said
remember the
that. I
handle,
think
the name,
Bankole is
but
just
she
trying to give
tweeted
me a compliment because my
no,
brain isn't working anymore.
because 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 you I mean, yes, but you replied. You said she says it's gonna be whatever. You know who I'm talking about. Anyways, just please stay after Haja leave after she finishes this run. Thank you. Like we're not as intellectual or as alluring, but just stay.
That's very,
But
very
for now,
untrue. You guys have much better episodes than me,
okay,
so boo.
let's not do this again. But for now,
No, let's do this.
hopefully Obi
Bankole is
will be
like
back.
allergic to compliments. I don't know what's wrong with him.
Yeah, but like, why are we? This is not my thing. Why are we doing this?
Like,
No,
oh my god,
I'm
one
ending
quick
this
final
episode.
thought. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I can't lie.
Mm-hmm.
Bankole's affliction of being allergic to compliments is sometimes good. Let me tell you why. Because realistically, like you have to have a little bit of low self-esteem sometimes. So you can be a bit suspicious. Because if you are Jennifer Coolidge, gorgeous woman, but realistically, why would a young hot Italian named Niccolo just be dying to fuck you? Like, come on, like BFFR, be fucking for real. You need that
I
level of
mean, in her
discernment.
defense, she was like, he wouldn't. But in her defense, she was like, he wouldn't care about me, and then I guess Quentin just convinced her. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
It was the
Like,
coke.
I love
Honestly,
you, Jennifer
I
Coolidge.
think it's the coke. I do think.
Don't think I don't love you.
Yeah, I do think I don't think it's a mistake that Coke is in that scene. I think the Coke, because again, we talk about this, but like it's very weird that that picture is in that scene.
Yeah.
Like it's like Quentin should have removed that
Yeah.
picture. So I think that Coke is there to really, really like fuck up her
Yeah,
mental
and the whole way
faculties,
it's
and like
filmed with like the
she
slow
wouldn't think
motion,
properly.
it does feel like it literally feels like a trance. The whole thing feels like a
Oh no,
trance.
she's done.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you know.
I think Haja was trying to compliment me earlier, but then she said I have low self esteem. So Jesus Christ knows.
No, I did not
But
see that.
for now, this is a good point to end this episode. Haja, thank you very much for another episode of the White Lotus. Um, hopefully, well, not hopefully, but I believe Obi will be back next week, and he'll probably say some weird French anecdote or
Oh
something. I
my
don't know,
god,
man.
he's awful.
Um,
Oh god, fire him, please.
but yeah, for now, thank you to everyone that's listening. If you have this, please rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening on, and tell your friends about this podcast. And yeah, that's it. Haja, thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much for having
And
me. It's been great. I'm really
I'll be
excited.
back. I think yeah, I think Obi will be back next week, and I think I'll be back the week after. Of course, with Oscar winner Daniel Kaluuya. Bye, guys.
Bye.